Coming up on today's show, could DK Metcalf be off to Kansas City? We have an interesting trade rumor from the Kansas City Chiefs involving the Seahawks star receiver that we'll get to in just a bit. Also, Emmanuel Ogbah, his name has come up as a potential free agent target for the Seattle Seahawks. We will discuss that possibility and more coming up on today's show. I am merely Tyler Jones here with you. Thanks for joining us here on Seahawks Today. I got a little challenge for the 12s out there. How many former Seahawks quarterbacks can you name? Whoever can name the most former quarterbacks. So you better not be naming Geno Smith or Sam Howell. You can name anybody else, though. Whoever names the most, you're going to get a shout-out on a later edition of Seahawks Today sometime in the coming days. Let's see who can come up with the most. Let us know in the comment section. We'll get started with today's show. Could Could DK Metcalf be off to Kansas City and joining the defending Super Bowl champions? The folks at Arrowhead Addict are suggesting the Seahawks that the Kansas City Chiefs make a trade for the Seahawks wide receiver. I know what some of you are thinking right away. Another DK rumor. Here we go. Look, this is coming from the Kansas City folks. We're just the messenger of what they had to say. So don't shoot the messenger here, folks. Let's go ahead and see what Arrowhead Addict had to say about this idea. Even if Rashee Rice plays most of this season, he did his best work out of the slot last year, and if both Xavier Worthy, and Hollywood Brown are better off working in space, the Chiefs could use a physical outside receiver. That is why I am here to argue that the Chiefs should make a huge splash in the coming weeks and trade their 2025 first-round pick to Seattle for DK Metcalf. All right, let me make myself very clear. It ain't happening. I know that the Seahawks situation involving DK's contract, if he were to get traded, it would have to be a post-June 1 trade, which is quickly approaching, by the way, that based on the way his contract situation shaked out, it wasn't going to happen pre-June 1. I know Seattle's desperate for cash, and I know that we're hearing all these outside forces try to push this narrative of a DK trade, right? We knew that the Steelers were talking heavy about what they got to do to get DK Metcalf. And now we're hearing the Kansas City Chiefs as a possibility to make a trade for DK Metcalf and everything that's gone on with Rashee Rice and all that. But for the Seahawks' perspective, Seattle's vantage point, it just doesn't make any sense at all to move on from arguably your best player on the entire roster. All right? This is a Seahawks team that is starting a new era with Mike Macdonald here, right? And DK is a key piece, a key building block for the future of where the Seahawks want to go. DK needs to be around, folks. So the idea that was thrown out there by Arrowhead Addict here is the Seahawks getting a first-round pick in exchange for DK Metcalf. And I'm just going to tell you this right now. The Kansas City Chiefs are going to be a very good team next year, right? Very well may win the Super Bowl again. And I think they would pretty much guarantee a Super Bowl if you added DK Metcalf, right? So with that in mind, it's not just any first-round pick that I'm getting. I'm probably getting somewhere between the 30 to 32 range, a low-end first-round pick. The Chiefs would win that trade, all right? Because they're guaranteeing themselves a Super Bowl title if they get DK Metcalf. I'm not doing this deal. I'm not trading DK. I'm not settling for a late first-round pick to move on from DK Metcalf, who's been so consistent. I know some of you, I hear it all the time in the comments section, are frustrated with DK's antics, right? And he gets called for all the personal foul penalties, and he lets the emotions get the best of him sometimes. But I'm going to tell you this right now. There's a whole lot more good than there is bad with DK Metcalf. Last year, coming off a season with more than 1,100 yards, 8 touchdowns, a career high in yards per reception, 16.9. And this new offense that Ryan Grubb is bringing in, this air raid scheme, I think DK is going to thrive, and there's no reason why I don't think he won't have the best season of his career this upcoming year. So, should the Seahawks trade DK Metcalf? I'm going to give you 2 options here, and 2 options only. One is in for no, a polite way of saying no. Or you could be like how I feel and type H no for hell no. Which one is it? In for no, H in for hell no. Give me your answer of what the Seahawks should do with DK Metcalf. We are going to continue to cover your Seattle Seahawks all offseason long. And in case you missed the announcement, folks, we are going live now, not just once, but twice a week, beginning next week as we debut our new Friday live show, in addition to our Wednesday live show. We'll still bring you all our daily news and rumors. We'll do our watch parties during the season as well. The latest happenings in your favorite team covered each and every day on Seahawks Today. Help us reach our next milestone of 52.5K subscribers. We're going to start doing some Madden Sims as well for the entire Seahawks season with updated rosters and everything. So hop on the bandwagon, subscribe to the channel now, stay up to date here on Seahawks Today. Never miss a moment. You'll be glad you did. YouTube.com/SeahawksTV. Emmanuel Ogbah, could he be on his way to Seattle? The folks at Yardbarker are suggesting that the Seahawks sign the veteran edge rusher in NFL free agency. Listen to this. This is not a huge pressing need because the Seahawks were a top 10 team in sacks in 2023 and have a really good duo in Boye Mafe and Uchenna Nwosu. They also addressed the defensive line in the draft with Byron Murphy II and have Leonard Williams returning. But you can never have enough good pass rushing depth in the NFL, especially in a division where you have to compete with the offenses of the San Francisco 49ers and the Los Angeles Rams. Now, I look at Emmanuel Ogbah, and he makes a ton of sense as far as I'm concerned. I think he's kind of the perfect Mike Macdonald reclamation project, if you will, right? We've seen Mike Macdonald do a really good job with these cheap veteran pass rushers over the years, from the Justin Houstons to the Kyle Van Noys to the Jadeveon Clowneys of the world. Emmanuel Ogbah fits exactly that prototype that Mike Macdonald's worked with. But where's the money come from, right? I mean, as Tom Cruise once said, show me the money. Where is it? Where are you going to afford Emmanuel Ogbah, even if it's a cheap contract? Because right now your cap space is at negative $255,000. Now, as we've talked about in this program, we expect some extensions to be happening in the near future, like Julian Love, DK Metcalf, among others. So you could find that money pretty fast, but you got to free up some money before you can sign a guy like Ogbah. So we'll talk more about Ogbah here in just a second, but I want to hear from you guys. Do you like the idea of Emmanuel Ogbah coming to Seattle? Type S for sign, P for pass. Let us know if you think Seattle should bring in Ogbah or not. One guy we're thrilled to have in Seattle is Byron Murphy, who the Seahawks selected in the first round of this year's draft. He's going to wear the number 91. So just add a 9 to that jersey. And, folks, you can get your jerseys now at chatsports.com/Murphy. What is the home jerseys, the road jerseys, men's and women's options, all sorts of different shapes and sizes. You can go see for yourself. Chatsports.com/Murphy. And we might be offering some free shipping as well. So go see for yourself now. Chatsports.com/Murphy. The link is in the comments and description of today's video. More on Emmanuel Ogbah. He was a star at Oklahoma State. I've seen his entire career. I loved what he did in the Big 12 Conference. 2016 second-round pick. Played for the Chiefs and the Dolphins. Won a Super Bowl with the Chiefs after beginning his career in Cleveland. And here's the numbers we're talking about with Ogbah. Last year was a down year from what he did, comparably speaking, in 2021 and 2020, but he was still good. Had 20 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, 5.5 sacks, 1 forced fumble. But I think that based on Macdonald's track record of working with pass rushers, you're looking at him getting back to the 9-sack range once again in this defensive scheme that he'd be a good fit for. And here's why we think he'd be a good fit. Let's go over the scouting report. First off, he's a big dude, right? 6'4", 275. This guy eats his Wheaties, all right? He's a heavy-handed power rusher. You can never have too many power rushers. He holds up well against the run, which is a very important key detail here, right? We've talked a lot about Darrell Taylor, how bad he is against the run. One-trick pony, he can get after the quarterback, but that's all he can do. Ogbah not only gets after the quarterback, but he can stop the run. He has a recent injury history, and that doesn't tend to get better as you get older, so that is something to keep in mind. And he can kick inside on some sub-packages, so he is movable, if you will. So I like that overall. I think there's a whole lot more good than bad. And at the end of the day, this is an edge who can hold up well against the run. You're speaking my love language here, folks. It feels like Valentine's Day all of a sudden. This is exactly what Seattle needs. And you look at the current edge rusher options. Seahawks got a good mix. We heard that Draymond Jones is being moved to the edge rusher spot. If you bring in Emmanuel Ogbah, for example, then you got some flexibility. You could move Draymond Jones back to the defensive line, or you could just stack up on depth potentially that way. Boye Mafe, I expect to have a big 2024 to build upon what he did last year. Uchenna Nwosu's healthy. We mentioned Darrell Taylor. I think Derek Hall's going to take a step in the right direction. I would really feel great about this group if you added Ogbah to the mix and really just had a plethora of options there, especially if injuries come about. Who's a player the Seahawks should sign? If it's not Emmanuel Ogbah, who is it? Weigh in the comment section. Give me a name that you'd like to see in Seattle before the season begins. Thanks for joining us here on this edition of Seattle Seahawks Today. Follow me on X, formerly known as Twitter, @Tyler Jones Live, and we shall see you next time here on Seahawks Today.